What's up, my loves? As I promised, I'm going to demonstrate how to print tile the all over shirts with the 13 by 19 sheets, and then we'll also do the roll media. So right now I'm actually prepping my roll media. 13 by 19 sheets are gonna come, 13 by 19 size. So I will explain that part as well as far as piecing those together. But right now I have my roll media, and this is what some of you had a lot of questions about. I cut this down to a 13 by 36 for the standard adult size, and then if I'm doing youth size, like for instance youth medium, youth small, I'll do a 30 inch. That way I can save a little bit more paper. So I'm going to go ahead and show you all how I cut this, and then I'll show you or I'll explain an alternative method if you don't have a cutter. So first, I guess I'll go through what all you need. I have a cutter here. That's gonna definitely come in handy to make sure that your cuts are straight. But you can also use a cutting mat. You can use a rotary wheel. Let me show you what that looks like. So you have a rotary wheel here. Mostly used to cut fabric and that sort of thing. But you can use that to cut your paper. You just wanna make sure that you have a good, clean, even edge. If you hand cut it, you're most likely going to have a little bit of a jagged edge, and your printer will not thank you for that. So we'll go ahead and get started with this process, and if I have time, I'll show you how to cut with the other method as well. So I take my roll and I place it. Let me bring the camera down so you can see what I'm doing here. Yeah, forgive me, I'm doing a makeshift setup in the kitchen right now, so anything from the viewers. All right, so we're gonna take the roll, and let's see, can you see how I have it resting? No, you cannot. Move that out the way. Okay, so take the roll and let it rest. Oh. This little cord. All right, there we go. So I'll go ahead and give myself enough space so that the roll can sit on the table right along with the cutter. And of course, most of these have a little locking mechanism. I'm gonna unlock it. These are my 13 by 19 prints. I printed them out already. I think I have one more to print. So what I'm going to do is when I finally put this 13 by 36 sheet in one printer, I'm going to print the 13 by 19 print right beside it so you can see the process for both ways. What I do is I leave the leading edge underneath the blade. Make sure the blade is all the way up, and if it's not, it will catch your paper. You want to start feeding it through. Now, I have predetermined that my 36 inches actually ends right about when my paper touches that piece of wood right beyond my board setting there. So you do what you have to do to measure that out. Now I'm going to press this paper up against the top of the cutter here, and that's going to ensure that I have a even cut. If it's not flush up against there, you're gonna end up with an uneven cut. Uneven sheet of paper, uneven paper going in the printer leads to it printing crooked. So this is what I say, this step is very important. Your prep work is extremely important. And this one just happens to have a little shield that shields your fingers from getting cut off, but seems like also be in my way. Oh, it's not in the right place. I was like, it's not allowing it to cut. All right, there we go. Okay, so that's one sheet, and you want to go ahead and cut for up to a 3X. You want to cut 40 sheets. If you're doing small, medium shirts, you only need 3 of these. All right, so let's do one more. I think I have 2 printed out already, so I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 sheets. There we go. And I'm just making sure that I have it lined up at the top here. Press down on the green shield and swipe. So there we have our pages there. I can go ahead and put my cutter up now. And we can take you to the next step, which is hitting print on the print or on the computer and then loading the paper up. So I'll see you in just a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the alternative cutting method while I'm at this angle here. If you don't have a handle cutter, I don't even know what it's called right now, paper cutter, then what we can do is we can use I have a ruler here that's used for sewing. So you look in your craft stores, Walmart even, go to the sewing department. You usually see this clear ruler. It's pretty wide, it's about 6.5 inches wide by 24 inches long. And I also have a rotary cutting mat here. And this cutting mat just ensures that I don't scar up whatever surface I'm cutting on. Okay. So let me go ahead and show you this method. And I can cut it with a blade here. This is an oval blade. That's one method. And then I also told you about the rotary wheel that might be hiding on this table somewhere. There she goes. And then basically what you want to do is make sure you have a good clean cut. You're not cutting it with a pair of scissors by hand. If you can avoid it, you can cut with scissors if you absolutely have to. All right, first thing I'm going to do is make sure I have 36 inches. And my suggestion is if you're in doubt, go a little bit longer than 36 inches. That won't hurt you, but if you go shorter than 36 inches and you think you're going to print 36 inches, you might be in trouble. So let's go 24, and then I'll grab another 12 inches from that point. And then you just have to make sure that your roll doesn't actually roll off of the table. So 12 is right about there. Hopefully you can all see me. And then what I'm going to do, since I have this rotary mat, I'm going to use my lines on the rotary mat to make sure that my paper is parallel with the lines that are on there. And I'm also going to use these same lines to determine if my cut is straight. It's a little more of a manual process, but it still gets the job done. So let's lay our ruler on top. I'm going to go by the 1-inch line here. And you want to make sure that your paper is straight all the way across the lines here. And you want to make sure that your ruler is straight all the way down the line on your cutting mat. Now with that, I can go ahead and expose my blade for my rotary cutter. Make sure I have good firm pressure on the clear ruler because it can shift on you because it is potentially slick. It'll move around on you. Alright. So that's one sheet there, and I'll demonstrate one more time using the X-Acto knife this time. Move the ruler out of the way for a moment. Get a little roll action. And you can use tape measure as well. See if you have 36 inches. Go ahead and lock it there. Or maybe I won't lock it. Looks like you have a little malfunction there. I'm going to assume my cut is at the 1-inch mark again. And I'll bring my paper out. And overshoot just a little bit. And then I'm going to put my ruler down. Let's get that out of the way. So if you measure one time where your 36 inches are, you don't have to keep measuring every single time. So where I had my device before, my cutter, my paper cutter, I knew that once I touched that board right past the edge of this table, that was 36 inches. Alright, let's go ahead. I'm going to move the roll back a little bit so it doesn't interfere in my cutting space. Make sure first the paper is lined up, squared up against one of these lines here. Good deal. And on the 1-inch mark is what we're shooting for on the cutting mat. And hopefully you all can see that. All right, I'm on the 1. So this time I'll take the X-Acto knife, expose the blade, make sure I have good pressure, that my ruler's not going to shift on me, and voila. So those are my 3 methods that I use for cutting the paper. And as you can see, it does the same job. Just depends on what you have available. So you can rock and roll and do this thing. All right, so now we'll get to the point where I'll show you the next step on the computer and loading this into the printer. So for my next step, I'm going to show you how you would go about printing. Now, the previous video shows me actually printing from the print settings on the computer. So don't worry about if you can't see the printer right now. I just want to go ahead and show you the steps. So here, I'll go File, Print, and I already have it set up to print from the rear slot, which is behind here. Let's see if I can maneuver this so you can see. Okay, it was harder than I thought. Let's pull this out. Everything's on wheels in there. All right, so that's your rear slot there. And I don't know if I'll be able to hold the camera while I load it, but we'll see. But I want to let you know that you want to make sure that the paper goes within these slots here, and that you feel the intake actually pull the paper in when you do it. And you'll hear a sound as well. And I will show you that in just one moment. So for the next step, I'm just showing you a glimpse of the laptop. I'll show you the actual settings and in another video where I break down how exactly to print this. But I just wanted you to see that this is a longer panel. This is a 13 by 36 panel. And then when we go to File, Print, I have my settings set up to where it's going to print 13 by 36. So I'm going to go ahead and hit print here. And I'll tell you all my settings because you won't be able to read the settings from this video, and that's fine. And I have the printer and everything on wheels, so I should be able to move it around. All right, I wanted to show you what it's going to say, if it will show you. If you can't read it, I'll read it out loud. It says load a single sheet of paper in the rear paper feed slot. So the printer has told it that it's going to read from the rear slot and not from the paper tray. That's going to be very important in your settings, which I should have already shown you how to do that part. So I'll go ahead and grab the paper, we'll load it up, and you'll get to see that part. Okay, so this is our long 13 by 36 inch paper. We're going to make sure that we're going to put the front side front. So you're looking for the brighter white side. We also have a yellow side. And if you can't tell the difference, you can kind of fold it over without creasing it. You'll see the yellow versus the bright side there. And we're going to go ahead and load it in. I'm going to hold it so that I'm taking a little bit of weight off of the back here. And then I'm going to make sure I slowly feed in the front. Hopefully you can see and hear what's going on here. There we go. All right, so I want to make sure that I get it in those 2 slots. And if it's not in the right place, you may have your slots in like that. So we're going to expand them and start pushing them out. Now once you start to feed it in, you will be able to hear the printer try to take up the paper. Now what I do is I kind of tend to let it fly forward because I don't want it to touch the ground behind, just in case there's any debris or anything on the ground. And then your printer settings, of course you might not be able to see right now, but it says press OK to print. So we'll press OK. It'll make sure that you push it in far enough. Sometimes you wouldn't have pushed it in far enough, and then I can let it drop because I know it's not going to hit the ground. But sometimes you don't push it in far enough. It'll tell you that it's not, it may say something like load media not inserted enough or something to that effect. You just want to make sure that you pull it back out because it's not really in the take-up rail yet, and then guide it back in to where it will accept that paper. And the more and more you do this, the more comfortable you'll feel that you're not going to jam paper up in your rear feed slot. So it is printing now. I'm going to go ahead and shift that back out of the way. and you'll see that it's going to print out. I don't know if lifting this up really does anything. It ends up falling on the floor every time, so you may want to put something on the floor. Let me save this. And this is an issue you may have. If it prints and say it stopped and had an error, it may have even stopped because if it didn't read that the paper was inserted straight, or if it ran out of ink or anything like that, you'll probably get this and you'll probably be mad at yourself because it didn't print all the way. But what I would recommend is that the next time that you print, you just flip the print so that it prints from the bottom to the top. So then that way, just in case you have to use this sheet again, you might have a little bit of that section left. So I'm going to send this back through. Because I have the top of this print. And that is the problem, a huge problem with these Epson printers, is that when they run out of ink, they stop completely. And then it tries to pick back up where it left off. But of course it never matches up. So I've had that happen earlier today on this same sheet. And now it's saying press OK to print because it wants to continue the print now. I'm just going to go ahead and let it happen just to see if it will continue where it left off. But that's something that you don't want to happen. All the other sheets printed continuously, no issues or anything. Every now and then I get this type of issue, and I'm not sure what it is because it didn't bend the paper up. It didn't go in crooked. I don't know if it's a data issue because these are larger files or what, but it does definitely give me concern. The other thing that I would do is make sure that I'm printing off of the hard drive and not printing from a thumb drive or anything like that. That way I don't run any risk of Photoshop crashing because it's trying to print a large file off of an external drive or anything. And then I showed you before how to turn it into a PDF. So it is a smaller file size in terms of it's not the full size Photoshop file. So that shouldn't be the issue there. But we'll see. We'll let that finish printing. Like I said, I'll go ahead and push it back, get it out the way. And we also have 13x19 printer over here that is printing the 8 tile sheet. So we ended up with 4 roll media sheets and 8 13x19 sheets of the other printer. So all I have to do is insert my paper tray here, because I did that on purpose. Just gonna pull it out so maybe y'all can see that. And it's asking me to insert paper tray. Press OK. There we go. And that will be the last of the 13x19 prints that I need. So I'll have all 8 sheets done of that. And then I should have, at the end of this one printing, I'll have all 4 of my roll media sheets. And then the next step is just tiling it, just putting it together with tape and trimming it. So I'll let these print and I'll see you back in just a moment. All right, now that our final prints are printing, I'm gonna go ahead and prep my other pages as far as trimming them down. And we are literally back at the cutting board. So I will use my rotary cutting mat here. I'll use my clear ruler, and more than likely I'll use my rotary cutting wheel. And your pages are going to come out 13x19 first. Going to come out, they will have the white border around them unless you did print the edge, which I do not recommend for sublimation. And then it should have a 0.25 or 1/4 inch overlap that is also missing some because of the border here, the margin. So we'll probably end up with maybe like an 1/8 of an inch overlap before it's all said and done. So what we want to do is trim this now to where each of these white margins are completely gone, and we don't want to leave any white there because we don't want any chance of basically causing white splotches or possibly even uneven areas of pressure because we're not tiling appropriately. Now what I do, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't cut and trim every last piece. What I do is I strategically cut it. I'll keep one as the background. So let's say this is my left side sleeve, then I would keep the white meat here and then cut the next one off as far as the white meat or the overlap on the next one. So when I use little terms like, you know, white meat or whatever, it's intentional. It's meant to stick in your head. So we're gonna leave the white meat on this one, and it helps to go ahead and lay this out. And I'm gonna go ahead and move my 13 by 36 pieces off of the table for now. And we'll go ahead and prep our artwork. So before I start cutting anything, I'm going to tell you where you should do it, and that's go ahead and lay out your pieces, make sure it makes sense, make sure you have no banding. Like I do see a little bit of banding here, but this is a demo shirt too. I should have checked that while I was printing. It has some slight banding, and slight banding usually means that it's going to have color issues. So be aware of that. I'm just laying it out here. And oh yeah, we are missing 1 and 2. So I'll grab those out of when they're done. But for right now, we at least know what we're going to trim. So if we see this layout, I'm going to keep number 1 whole, and then I'm going to trim. I'm going to call this 2. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be 5. So I'm going to trim 1 and 5 so that it will overlap with the 1. I usually leave this handle hanging off. And most of the time, if you let your paper line up with the lines here, you should be pretty good. But it just depends, because it could also go through the printer crooked, and that's not what you want. So here, let me see if I can get you a little bit closer so you can see what I'm cutting. All right, I think you can see me here. All right, here we go. Good deal. Okay, so I'll move it over just a little bit. I'm trimming just a little off into the image because I want to make sure I have absolutely no white in my way. And I'm actually using the X-Acto knife here instead of the cutting wheel. All right, so that's that one. Now, because my 1 has the white meat on the right, I'm going to leave the white meat on the right of my 5. So once I place it, you should see it starting to come together. Now I'm not tacking anything down yet, I'm just visually placing it. All right, so for my two piece, or my second piece, I'm gonna make sure that I trim the white off of the left-hand side, and I'm gonna leave the white on the right-hand side. So I'm creating a pattern of understanding that I'm always gonna cut the left-hand side. And like I said, this one does have, I'm flipping it upside down. I know it's a little confusing, but I'm right-handed, so that's going to be easiest for me. Like I said, I'm making sure that while I'm trimming, that I'm taking a little bit of the meat off of the print. Just a tiny bit. So when you pick up that scrap there, on that scrap, you should be able to see just the slightest bit of color on there. Okay? And there's my print on the ground. All right. So that was cutting the left side off. And of course, like I said before, we're going to leave the left, we're taking the left off. So we'll leave the right and the bottom white meat because we're going to use that to overlap the next piece. All right, so basically my top pieces, I'm going to cut off the left and the bottom white meat. And then for my bottom pieces, I'll be cutting off still the left, but I'll cut off the top right here. All right, so this one, go ahead and grab this paper out the ground. It did finish printing. Hallelujah. All right, and our print over here says that it is missing magenta. So I'll take care of that in just a moment. I want to finish showing you how we're going to cut this. All right, so said we'll cut it left hand side, but I'm gonna turn it upside down while I cut the left. And I don't need to use the ruler lines if I am running right up against the printed edge. Okay, trim it off. Little bit of print on the edge there, if you can see it. But just a tad bit of print on there. All right, and then we're gonna leave the bottom one, just the left came off. And this print, I want to say one of them we had to change the cartridges out. So if you ever see this issue right here, that inking, yes, that happens, especially when you're changing out cartridges and that sort of thing. So, as a matter of fact, I'm also seeing that, yeah, you can always tell, because if you see here, it printed out this one before this one. It started banding here, which means it probably asked for some more ink, you know, typical Epson refills. And then when it asked for more ink, it cleared up some of the banding, but it also spit out a little ink there. So I'll start doing some troubleshooting videos for that type of stuff too, and I know you probably have a lot of questions about that, but I wanted to mainly focus on demoing this process right now here for you today. All right, so I think we got 1, 2, 3, and of course this one will trim the left hand side as well. And I should have paid a little more attention because I see that banding, baby. But here's another thing. If I weren't toweling this, sometimes the banding is not a deal breaker. And I say that because the fiber, the polyester fibers and the way that it's woven, or the polyester weave, allows for some imperfection. So that's also the reason why we don't do 300 DPI when we're printing these things out, because it doesn't have to be so crisp and perfect, because you have a little room for error there. Now with toweling it, if I have one, and I don't know if you can see this clearly in the camera, but there's one image that is missing probably magenta, and it looks very much different from the next one that printed with more magenta. So I most likely will probably reprint that towel just to make sure that it has the best consistency, and because that's my beautiful best friend, and I want to make sure I represent her right. Okay, so I'll probably go ahead and pause for the cause right now, replace the magenta cartridge over here, refill it, replace it, and I'll probably reprint that towel right there, and then we'll return. All right guys, just a moment. All right, I'm gonna continue cutting now. I'm gonna start cutting the bottom pieces while that replacement piece is printing from up top there. And we said we were gonna now trim the left and top. So we already did so for piece number 5. We're on piece number 6 here. We're trimming the left and top. Now I'll show you what happened here. A lot of times when you're printing from your Epsons, if you have only 2 sheets of paper left, this has happened to me so many times. If you have only 2 sheets of paper left, it'll pick up those last 2 sheets as one sheet, and it literally split my image. So it picked up 2 sheets of paper one time and started printing. So I didn't recognize it until it was pretty much halfway down printed, but I know that I can just do a quick fix, take that together, and I can still use this as one image. Although I would have preferred not to have done that, especially in a tutorial. However, I think it's helpful because it shows you some of the things that you're going to go through in this printing process. So it does not give you an overlap though, so you have to be extremely precise with this line. and make sure that you don't have any white showing. Otherwise, you will see the white line on your design, on your final product. All right, so let's trim, we said left and top. Now that we're on the bottom row. And once you get into the groove of these, it's not that bad. It's just something that I dread. I would much rather purchase the full sheet, especially if I have more than one shirt to do. Now, if I have one shirt to do, I'm gonna probably do it like this. But if you have a set of shirts to do, I would highly recommend that because I think they're like $12 or $13 per sheet, and you don't have to use your ink, you don't have to use your paper, and you don't have to use your time to assemble these. But because this was so requested, and because you all are really getting into this all over groove, I did want to put this video out to show you all how to do this. So I got some hot glue on my mat, so it's causing a little issue. Let me get that off. Alright, and I'm going to trim the top there, like I said, just barely on the image. This time I'll use my rotary wheel just to switch it up and show you all. Make sure that you have firm pressure on that ruler. You don't want to slide and stick it. I don't want to hear about those kind of problems. And oh, it did not cut the top off all the way here. Oh yeah, it did. It was just hinged on just a little bit. I was going to say, because this is where the paper overlaps, so it's a little bit thicker, it required a little bit more effort to get that off. And I'm just going to make sure that I have this good and taped up in the back so we don't have any slippage. Because this does not have an overlap, as I explained. And then I'm going to cut off this extra little piece of tape here so that it doesn't mistakenly tack to the front of one of my prints, which has happened before. If that tape like touches down on one of your prints, like right on the eyeball or something, you lift it up, it's going to be painful. Because it will remove the ink and reveal the backing of the paper. So you don't want that either. Alright, so we have 6 out of our 8 pieces trimmed. Well, not really, because we have to redo number 2. So let's go ahead. I'm going to move these out of my way just for now. And I'm going to get the point. Now I wanted to show you our layout. And again, I turn it upside down when I cut my left side because it's easier. And just making sure. Now, if you have a lot of white in your design, sometimes it's extremely hard to see where your print image is. But this happens to be a lot of color, so it's a little bit easier for me to see when I'm right up on that line. And honestly, I think the X-Acto tool gave me a little more precision. And I move my hand because I want to make sure my pressure's on point, because this ruler does get slippery. All right. Now we'll cut the top off. Look at those pretty teeth, that pretty curly smile. Alright, let's trim this one off now. And we'll be able to see how this is coming together. Now this last piece, you may or may not need these last 2 pieces. As a matter of fact, did one just not print it all? Oh no, duh, you had it right there. So this is our last piece for the 13 by 36. And if it prints without giving you issues of stopping in the middle of the print, whew, that's your buddy right there. Because it is much easier to tile 4 sheets of paper than it is to tile 8 sheets of paper. And I'll show you just a bit. Now with this method, we're going to be good because we gave ourselves overlap, and the overlap is pretty precise. It's done by Adobe Acrobat, so that was definitely helpful. Now this one, we're going to trim the left and the top. So, got to trim that one left and top. Trim this one left and top. Move that little piece out there. I usually like to move these little pieces out of the way so they don't interfere with my cutting. You don't need any slippage when you're working on this thing here, because one little slip it messes up your whole tile and you have to print it all over again. Unless it's something you can patch back up. Alright, it comes clean off. Alright. Oh yeah. Of course. Trim the top off here. And this one should be pretty much good to go. Like I said, if you're doing a, I'm even going to venture to see if we even need this for the extra large. It's going to be interesting because this goes all the way up to a 3X. The bleed does. So I may have been able to save myself 2 sheets of paper. We're going to test that theory in just a little bit by not needing those tile number 5 and 8. So we'll see in just a moment. All right, so I'm going to pause for the calls again because obviously that print didn't print, or did it? My print number 2, I need to reprint. So I'm going to reprint that one and make sure we're all good on that. And then I'll come back and we'll put this all together. Okay, so I decided to, I want to tell y'all. I was counting from left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4, but it really should have been from right to left since we printed mirror image. So I missed and printed I printed 2 because I assumed that was tile number 2, and it wasn't. It was actually tile number 3 that I needed to print. So I'm reprinting that one, and in the meantime, I'm going to show you all how to trim the long prints. The 13 by 36 is a little more difficult because it's continuous 36 inches and you have to make sure you're staying on track. So we'll go ahead and do that while we wait. Alright, these are our pieces. And we're still going to use the cutting mat. We don't want to scratch up our surface here. And we'll still use the ruler. And as a matter of fact, I could cut left to right. Will y'all be able to see that? Let's see. I still would want to cut my right hand, so I keep my cut on the right side, and then I'll move this out of the way for now. All right, so same idea here. As a matter of fact, the first print, there are only 4 pieces, so I can see that this one went through a little crooked because I have white meat down here, but no white meat up here. So before I do anything, I'm gonna leave that one hold, and I'm gonna check with my next piece and make sure that I'm gonna have enough space there. And that's what I say is really important, how these feed through. So I'm glad I caught that. So let's go ahead and lay this out real quick. These 4 pieces. So this one has a pretty consistent line down there. So that would be piece number 1. So all the way to the right is piece number 1. This would be 2. I have consistent white on the left and right of that one. And then 3, a couple of versions of it. Nope. 2 versions of them, 2. One of them cut off abruptly. The other one, I was able to get the full print out of this one, so we use that one. And as you can see, that was a whole, let me show y'all this, because I don't think sometimes people understand why you have to charge as much as you charge for sublimation. If you go through all that ink and paper and it stops right there on the Epson. Now what you can do is you can print the opposite way. So you can start printing from the bottom and just measure up about what you would need to recreate that space, and you can basically make your own smaller tile. But yeah, it was a little bit of a waste, but I think the reason why did I reprint it? Oh, because I didn't want to show you a piece of a tile. I wanted to show you 4 full sheets. But like I said, I think the mess ups that happen in the process of trying to teach you something are going to help you in the long run. So if this were to happen and I wasn't trying to be perfect for a tutorial, I would have literally just printed off just that section, because I probably don't even need that whole section because it's a lot of bleed at the bottom of the shirt. So I'll print off just that section. I would cut off way above where this cuts off, because what happens is it'll start printing one color but not another. So if you look very closely, you'll see some of the blue or the cyan starting to print without the other colors. So I will trim way above that and then make sure I have a good overlap. So that was a lesson in lessons of learning. Let's go on. Let's see how we're doing with these towels. And let's just move these off the table all together. That way I make sure we have plenty of space to lay out. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So my 3 has meat on the left hand side. This one just happened to get cut off and it's on the edge of the shirt. And I wanted to tell you all, I did figure out an extra large. You don't need the sides down here. So with the 13 by 19, you can get away with 6 sheets because you don't need towel piece. So if that's 1, 2, 3, 4, then the bottom would be 5, 6, 7, 8. So you don't need pieces 5 and 8 when you're doing a 13 by 19 is because you don't need the extra sidage here. You know, as we get bigger, we need a little more sidage. So yeah, up to an XL, you don't need the sidage. These are like extension pieces, okay? So yeah, 2X and 3X, we're definitely gonna need those side pieces. So I'm guessing that even if this overlap isn't exactly right, we didn't need it for the 13 by 19, so we probably won't need it for the 4 13 by 36s, okay? But we are gonna lay it out, and that's another thing. If you really wanted to save media, you could go with the 13 by 36s just for the middle, and then for the sleeve, we'll see. I think you would be able to get the full part on here with the sleeve, and then you would be able to do 13 by 19 pages for those sleeves. So this is all about learning, breaking it down, and understanding pretty much what you need for your specific jobs. If I was doing a whole bunch of these shirts and I wasn't keeping up with sizes, then I might just go ahead and print them all out on this roll media. But I'm wasting a lot of paper here, you see, if I only needed the tops of the sleeves. And let's say out of 20 shirts, maybe 3 or 4 of them are 2X's and above. So I'm wasting a lot of paper trying to provide for a shirt size that I really don't need to accommodate for, only for a few prints. So let's see, matter of fact, I have a 13 by 19 just printed out just now. So this would be what the sleeve looks like, 13 by 19 printed out. I had to reprint one. There we go. So as you can see, you would have been able to save this whole section down here and just do your roll media down the center. That's an option as well. And then this is the one that we needed for the replacement of 13 by 19 there. So I'll trim those off camera. I'm gonna get those ready. But we're gonna go ahead, since we have this laid out, go ahead and get these trimmed up. And this would have been an extra sheet of paper just pulled through, and that would have been a print in the middle stop. Yeah, like I said, I really can't stand that. I would love to develop some type of software that forces it to continue printing to where you could actually, maybe that would be something to develop, to continue printing where you can tile it and at least make up for where it stopped. That would be something worth doing. Alright, so I'll put these up for now. We'll cut those in just a moment. But for now, we're going to focus on, if I keep this one, if I say this one's trimmed, then that means I also have to continue to trim it up top. So trimming, now I guess I'm trimming the right side. Alright, so that should be pretty easy. If I only trim the right, I don't have to worry about the tops and bottoms now. Just trimming the rights. So I don't want to trim them all at once. Please don't try to get spiffy and do that, especially the first few times doing this, because paper does shift, and when you think you're cutting the whole stack, I guarantee you something in the middle done shifted on you. Alright, so we'll just put those like so, and go ahead and start trimming this top off here. And good temperature over there. Heat brush is definitely ready for me. Alright. So I am just trimming. And what I was trying to do also is kind of get an idea for how much it took off. It should do okay. This is the abstract part of the shirt that we don't need anyhow. But if it were somebody's face or something, I would definitely make sure that the image is going to match up in that area. All right. Let's see. So that first piece is trimmed. So we only have to do 3 trims because the final piece we don't have to trim. So we're going to make sure we keep consistent with trimming the right hand side of the graphic. The same thing here. And I am also making sure that I trim off some of the print. Just a very, very slight bit of the print. And I'm making sure that I'm not going all the way to the edge of this mat. I'm stopping before that. And you'll see what I do in order to continue the cut. Continuing the cut perfect is not necessary, but it is definitely desired. So I'm coming down and I'm going to stop and pretty much pull the paper and the ruler together. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to make sure that I keep on the board here. Slide my ruler down. Now I'm going to put my blade right back in the same, well, not in the same exact spot. I'm going to raise it up a little bit in the cut area, and I hope you can see that there. Now I am going in with the ruler. Make sure I'm good and lined up. And then I'm just going to rest the blade against the ruler and the paper where I had previously cut, and just continue that path down. So that is it. So that's trim number 2. We're going to do the same thing for trim number 3 and 4, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, for the next part, I'm going to go ahead and lay out my my butcher paper so that once I get everything configured, I can easily maneuver things around. You might also want to wait till you're done with the steps so that you don't inadvertently tape down to the butcher paper. But I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that's why you're going to see a change. I just didn't want to pop up and y'all see a white surface and ask me questions about that. So I'm going to go ahead and lay out my white butcher paper. Then that way it'll make it easier for me to maneuver my big piece when I get it assembled. And I'll be right back. All right, I'm going to show y'all this handy tool here. I use this for my roll media, so I was going to cut it off camera, but I figured this might actually be helpful to you. So this is, I don't know what brand this one is. I used to have some, this is Helix. I think I got this off of Amazon because the one that I wanted was out of stock with all the, you know, Corona stuff that's been going on. So I'm going to show you how I cut my roll media. That is just butcher paper, so it doesn't matter if it's completely straight, but I want something that I can just quickly run down the material. And this is your key. And just like that. You feel me? So that's what I use instead of using scissors, because sometimes you're using scissors and you try to and it's just, it's not efficient, it's not consistent. This also helps when we're cutting out the outline of our big piece, which we'll use it for that as well. So just wanted to give you some type of idea what I was using to cut that with. I guess I should link some of these things like the X-Acto knives and the cutting boards and that sort of thing, things that I use, so that if you have exact questions about those, answer will be there. I'm putting all this in because I mistakenly ripped it, and I don't want any rips, anything that could potentially cause an issue later with catching while I'm trying to spin my shirt under the press. I want a nice, clean, flat piece of paper, and that is what this is. A little minor fold there, but I think we can get by with that. Now we're going to start laying out our pieces, our 13 by 19 pieces that we have pre-trimmed. So we'll go ahead and do our basic one. This is why I was saying I wanted the paper down first. It makes it easier for me when I go to maneuvering the whole thing. And you would think I would know that. Oh, that was out of order because we reprinted it. Like I said, for the extra large, we're pressing an extra large today, so you won't need these side pieces, but I'm going to put them on anyway because the point is to demonstrate for you all today. And then also you'll get to see that we don't need those pieces. So let's start with the center. And I know some of you might want to start from one of the ends, and I think that's natural, but if you'll notice, usually your face is somewhere in the middle. And what happens is when you're tiling things, especially so many sheets, typically you'll start from one area, it'll be lined up and straight, and then as you get to the other extreme area, it will be some foolery, okay? So we're gonna try to stay as far away from the foolery as possible and start with our face, because we have this little crosshair area here. And let me see if I need to pull it in a little bit so you can see better. I'm trying my best with my little phone here, guys. All right. So right now I'm just manually checking my top pieces. Remember, I kept the white meat at the bottom of the top pieces and then kept the white meat on the right. So I have to remember to tile accordingly. And don't worry if it's not lined up perfect right now. You just want to make sure that what's supposed to be on top is on top. What's supposed to be on bottom is on bottom. And we're only concerned about these 4 pieces right now. Matter of fact, the other ones, so we don't even get confused and they don't catch our paper while we're shifting, we'll just move them off a little bit. Okay, so the first thing that I like to do is grab a few pieces of tape, and since I'm not using this area right now, tape here, and just a little bit of tape. And what we're going to do is create like some pivot areas. So I'm going to see if I have a good overlap where I can see clearly I'm on the edge here. And finding your overlap is actually a little bit subjective. So you have to see, okay, what repeats? I see the piece of her earring there that's repeating. So I'm trying to overlap that repeating part. And then somewhere along the way, when you do your shifting and pivoting, it will line up. All right, so I see that part of the earring there. Use your details. If you have facial details, that's what's most important. Let's see, I'm looking at the wings of the butterfly. Detail there. I think that's about it. But what I'm going to do, if I'm not sure, all I do is I tack a little bit of tape to this edge. Now, I can tack it to the paper right now because this is just the paper that I'm tacking it to. I just barely touched it. It's not formally where this is going to go, but this will help me. And of course, this piece was supposed to be underneath this one. So I have one piece. It's not really down. It's still pivotable. So I'm going to start in on my next piece. Now this one, while I'm working on, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we just basically tacked 7 and 2 down together. Or, no, I lied. 5, 6 and 2 down together. So now I'm on 7. And I'm trying to match up 7 with 6 while also kind of keeping my eye on piece number 3 there, which is farthest from my reach. So basically I want to make sure that I am keeping my eye on it. I have a lot of details. When you have text and you have facial features, you have details you can gauge against. I feel a pivot there. And I'm not going to take this one down because the top piece is more important to me right now because it's furthest away from me and I feel like I have least control. And also be careful. I have little sweaty hands like my dad, so putting your hand on the prints, especially for prolonged time, can mess up your prints there. And I think we did a 0.25 overlap. If you need a 0.5 overlap so that you can be a little more sure of yourself, do what you have to do to get sure first, and then start cutting down as far as for waste purposes and ink purposes, that sort of thing. So I think I'm happy with how this one, how 2 and 3 are matching up. I can't really tape right there right now, or can I? Just following along all the way up. This is the meticulous part. But once you get it down, it works. Alright, so I'm just tapping that up top. Like I said, this is your most important area where the middle 4 pieces come together. So when you get this together, everything else will fall into place, or at least won't be noticeable if it doesn't fall into place. Okay, so I'm looking at my details that might be overlapping. What can I see? What can I see? Parts of the butterfly. I see that part of the wing looks like it repeats there. This part of the wing starts there. And now remember, I just put a tiny little bit of tape right here, so I still have the opportunity to pivot. You can't really shift once you get it there, but you can definitely pivot. And that's all you really want to be able to do is pivot. You don't want it to be able to move up, down, left, and right. Too many options. Okay. And I feel like I'm about there. And that was a little bit bigger piece than I really wanted to cut off right now. But we'll roll with it. See, my left is trimmed, so I can't put tape on the left. I'm going to put tape down here at the bottom. So I think I have it where I want it. Now, the problem is you don't have everything tacked down everywhere, and of course you just can't slap a piece of tape right there in the middle. So you have to be very, very careful now about how you're shifting, because you're going to start putting, I call them little, play savers, little play saver pieces of tape, which won't totally go beyond or down the seam, but it'll at least just tack it into place. So let's put the play saver down. Like I said before, I had this one already tacked to the budget paper, and I'm just going to flip that and tack it underneath, so I don't have to worry about that. Of course my image shifted. Of course you shifted. So now what I'm going to do with this little tack piece is get myself back aligned. There we go. And there is no, oh, there is a tape there, and that tape there is actually because of the fix that I had to do. So I'll get that underneath you, and then get on top of that. Alright, so shift it back into place, and come on buddy, stay underneath. This one has some extra tape on it because I had to slice a print that split up, so it is catchy. So now what I'll do is tack a little piece of tape underneath. I'm going to slide it underneath the bottommost layer. And you see all I did was create like a little tab. And I only tacked down the bottommost layer, which would be the top one, so that'll be tile number 3 right now. And then I still have a little playroom because the tape, as you can see, or maybe you can't see, can you see? The tape is not touching this one yet. So I still have a little bit of playroom. I just let it stick to my finger. That is the whole purpose of my shiftage just now. Oh, and this is look at your back working too. Doing all this, leaning on this big old board. have fun with that. You know, count it as part of your workout for the day. Little core exercise. And I think that's about it there. So now I'm going to add another little tab. And this one I'm going to stick beneath my previous one, but next to it so that it tacks the previous tab to my new one. I did shift when I did that. When I tell y'all this is by the big friends. But it's not necessary. It is definitely helpful though. Definitely. Alright, so I have to be careful now not to let that little extra tape there touch anything, because I can use it. I can use it for my next time. Which the next one over, oh no, I can't use it because we did left to right. So let's go ahead and trim it before I get in any trouble. If you don't trim it and you happen to let it touch your print, you're gonna be in deep doo-doo. Alright, so let's go ahead and trim it off. Like I said, that's just a little place saver. And then we'll go ahead and I'm going to take a little tape, single layer, and put it underneath these two. Now I'm only going to tack it to the top layer or the bottommost layer first. And I'm going to make sure I don't need to do any of the shifting. Or did need a shift. Alright, so that one, and now I'm going to relieve the pressure of this bottom piece because it's most important, like I said, is the center. So I'm going to be sitting flush right in the center. There we go. So now that's sitting flatter. And go in with this piece here. And like I said, literally you can put two pieces together, come back, put the next two pieces together. But I find that I always end up struggling right in the middle of the face. Especially in like nose, isn't so bad. But if you have an eye right there and that eye doesn't match up, oh my God, it is one of the worst feelings to me to not be able to get that right. Okay, so I'm paying attention to, let's see, make sure lip lines up, teeth lines up, the text here lines up. And yeah, next time I think I do need to do a 1/2 inch overlap. Because I can tell some things have been cut off. Right there where the tooth is, I barely have any room to play with. And this is supposed to be on the bottommost layer anyway, so let me go ahead and tuck that underneath. There we go. Alright. And then this one. Now, before I put this one on top, I am going to need to put a little bit of tape as a placeholder underneath. I just have to be sure that this is where I want it to go. So I'm not going to just willy-nilly lay it down. I'm going to kind of hover over it until I get it where I want it, and then I will push and tack it down where I'm happy. Paying attention to other places in the graphic. Don't want that white line on the nose. So this tack piece that I have here, probably shouldn't touch it under because I wasn't exactly sure that that's what it was going to be. That happens. Go ahead and trim it loose. A little exacto. It just loosened it up there because it had a very slight angle to it that I could tell was going to be a problem in the long run. And need that one angled down. T and an 8. There we go. And I'm just setting it as a tack piece there. And now you can put on the sleeves. Like I said, we don't need the sides on this one, but I will put them on. I'll put the sides on absolutely last because we do not need them. But we do need the sleeves there. Whew, the heat press got it hot in the kitchen. Move these out of the way. And we'll go ahead and towel our sleeves now. Now if you want to, at this point in time, you want to secure what we've worked on because it was a little bit of work. So go ahead and take a couple more tack pieces and slide it underneath. Careful though. Tack that one down underneath. There we go. Slide it underneath and just let the paper fall on top of it in its natural placement that it already was. And that way when I turn this a little bit, shift it a little, I'm not totally afraid that I messed something up. I'm also going to put a tack piece down here at the bottom there. Start shifting. Because when I lay my sleeves out, I want to be to where I can see it. Alright, so that's my sleeve there. This sleeve here. And while I have myself down here, let me put a tack piece. Hold it steady. I'll take there and let it fall. Alright. So hopefully we're all tacked out and then we can do the real tape process after we get this sleeve on this side on. Now there should be some overlap. I see there's a little highlight right there in the butterfly wing. I am not as strict with myself on this side as I am with the face. As a matter of fact, that's not an overlap. That's just his own highlight there. Good to know. And I forgot I had that little tab hanging out there. I think it was helpful because it did tack it down for me. I totally forgot about it. Alright. Little tiny tab here. Tack it at the top. And I think I'm good down here. So I'm going to take this tab and lift up the bottommost layer. Create a little placeholder there. And then now I can put on one of my sides. What happened to my sides? Oh, put them on. So I did want to do these because even though I don't need them for this size, I wanted to demonstrate for you all. Okay. Like I said, here it's not so bad trying to exactly match things up because it's an abstract background. You may be able to pivot in and out a little bit without so much attention. And this is definitely easier to go ahead and make a decision on whether you're in place. I will still go ahead and pull underneath and put a little placeholder. Let my print drop down on top of that. There we go. And then what you'll also end up doing is as you get ready to press this, you'll end up trimming around this anyhow. So we just want to make sure that we're good on the placeholder pieces. And we'll shift And rotate now. Make sure nothing's gonna be in the way. Because anything that this hits may potentially dislodge one of your pieces. So we don't want that. Here. I'll go ahead and put the sleeve on. The sleeve is under now because we trimmed the other one. And like I said, there's not a lot of clues now because we're on this excess part, but you can definitely look at wing here. And I think did I get that spot on? No, not spot on, but close enough. All right, we'll placeholder piece there. We'll put one underneath at an angle. And then I happen to let it touch my finger, snatch onto my finger more than it did the paper. Alright. Placement going on, make sure it's laying flat. Press that down, and one more piece right there, guys. How long was this? Like 80 minutes? Not yet. One more side piece. Alright. A song is stuck in my head. Alright, so for this side piece, we need to go under this one and over the sleeve we just put in. So I'm going to trim, and I'm just trimming it off with my blade there. That piece of tape that I put down there. Because I need my print to go underneath this already trimmed side. Okay, so this print will go underneath. Like so. This will float over the sleeve print. You may have to dislodge that tack that we did just now. There we go. We want to make sure that we are underneath that piece. Make sure we're flat here and continuous. You don't want to press down, which is what I think I just did. No, I didn't. Snag it. Make sure we're lining up on this edge here. And like I said, the most important part is make sure the main image is intact. This excess out here is definitely secondary. And make sure we can lay flat there. I can put a tack piece there and a tack piece here. Woo! All right, now we are going to trim, and you can use your X-Acto knife. I actually prefer to use the scissors on this part, scissors. Oh, they're here on the table. So I actually trim exactly to the outside of this with the scissors, and that just makes me a little more conscious of how much bleed I have on each side of the shirt. Some people don't trim at all, and they will take this whole piece and go ahead and do the shirt that way because you can see through the paper. So I think the easiest way to do it is probably to keep it all intact. And it also helps with when the dye tends to bleed outside of the area. You don't have to have so much cover paper. So let's leave it be then. And I'm going to make sure before I flip this over, guys, I'm going to put down a couple of pieces of placement tape for me, just to give me a little more confidence that I'm going to hit the right seams. So, you see I don't press it down until I ensure that it's flat, and if it did tack, I just lifted that tack right on up. I can tell I need a tack here. Wherever you shift it and you see the white line come up, go ahead and tacky something there. And tack it to the bottommost layer. Let it lay down. And then don't touch it with the topmost layer until you make sure that you're going to have that flat. Ooh, woo! So that was the hardest part. That was your 8 count towel. And Now what we would do is flip it over wholly, and you have to be extremely careful with this. I'm gonna move everything off my table so I don't catch anything and none of my sheets dislodge. Carefully pick it up. There we go. Flipped it. And now you see where all my little placement pieces were. Now I gotta get to business doing the real tape job. So I'll set my tape over there in the middle to kind of weight it down. And I don't do it all the way down. Some people will, because you might possibly see tape marks depending on your pressure settings, the type of heat press that you have and all that. But I don't think that's too big of a deal. And I do know that's a lot of tape. If you were trying to match all of these seams and go exactly down every seam with continuous tape. And you can see I'm moving my hand in the direction that I'm taping so that I can continue that line and remove any kind of inconsistencies when it comes to like voids in the meeting of the paper. So hopefully if I did it right, it's all about prep work. If I did it right on the other side, the part that I'm doing now, I can quickly go through and I should be good. If you messed up, fudged up on your prep work, well, you're probably gonna have a little bit of a mess on your hand. And I'm looking for the tape and I'm literally using it as a weight. Alright. Definitely want to get towards that end there. We're going to keep this as one sheet. And now what I'm going to do, since I did all my horizontal, I'm going to start on my verticals before I forget. Start on the left, and I'm just using my tape holder to give me a little bit of weight here. And if some of your placement pieces are causing a bulge, it shouldn't be happening too much, but you might have to check the image, because if you take that placement piece off and you continue taping just because it gives you a nice flat appearance, when you flip it back over, you may not like what you see. So just a warning, using my tape dispenser as a weight. Just go here. Keeping my placement piece intact. And I'll make sure I put something there on that edge. There we go. Alright, just 80,000 more pieces of tape to go. And you can see why this would be good for smaller orders, but might not necessarily be what you want to do for your larger orders. Or at the very least, maybe tiling your roll media instead of tiling the sheets. Okay, and let me throw a piece of this to the top. And if I have any tape that hangs off on the top, I either will trim it or fold it down, because you don't want this tape to just haphazardly tack onto something. Here we go. I'm going from the weight and kind of pushing it down. Matter of fact, turn it around now. So I'm moving a little faster now. I think y'all get the hang of it. Alright, and taking on my horizontal. I think I need a little bit more horizontal here, especially towards this edge. And you see what I was saying, the reason why I put the butcher paper down first, because I can shift without shifting the actual print. I can shift the butcher paper underneath, which is how we end up pressing it as well. Alright, so that looks like it's it. Let's flip it over and see if we made some magic happen. I feel something tacking. Like I said, it's probably tacking up here to the top, and flip that over. Right there is where the culprit was. If you feel that tack, just stop, fix it. Don't force it, fix it. There we go. And good there. So what I do at this point is go ahead, I do put a little bit of spray adhesive. Found this one, it isn't my favorite. The dye trans one is my favorite, but this one was way less expensive when you buy like a case of it, and it came with free shipping. So I have to figure out the link for that one. And it says Eco Mist. I have noticed it's not as harsh on my breathing if I am spraying indoors, which technically I am. So, but the real deal, Holyfield, is the dye trans. They call it Pro Spray. But this one is the only one that's rated, I think, usable in California, which probably is a good thing because it probably will be less extreme on my lungs in the long run. But yeah, that's just where we are. Now, before I go ahead and spray this, because you need to pretty much use it almost as soon as you start spraying, you may want to go ahead and pre-press your shirt a little bit. So this one's going to be extra large. I'm going to go ahead and lay it out for you to see. And then we also want to make sure the shirt is down first, so that when we do press the, when we do spray on top of here, we'll be able to just go ahead and lay it down. So I think I'm going to try it this time. I never tried it without trimming it. So I'm going to leave it as one full piece and see how it does. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I don't always iron my shirts out, but best bet is, especially around your seams and stuff. I have a whole video that teaches you the proper way. I'm doing it with the full sheet that you can purchase, so I will link that video. But I'm gonna do my shortcut way, which is not the right way. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, because I'm supposed to put paper inside and do all this extra stuff, but I just want to hurry up and see this on the shirt. So I'm gonna show you that method to hurry up and see something on the shirt and pray nothing happens. So yeah, and pre-press, lint roll, you know, all that good stuff that you're supposed to do. I guess I can pretend I did it off camera, but you'll see the full process in my other video. Let's go ahead and let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and roll that up just a little bit, just so I can make space for my shirt. And I'm going to let this be the back of the shirt, because the front of the shirt, I'm going to do the 4-piece. Just because, for obvious reasons, it should be better as far as toweling and opportunities to mistowel. Alrighty. So let's see what we can get by with when we don't pre-press and do all the necessary steps. I'm not even going to spray this one. Or am I going to spray this one? Am I going to spray this one? I might spray this one. I think I am going to spray this one. Oh no, I haven't done it without the spray. And when you get the big sheets, they are tacky paper. So that's what's been spoiling me, is that everything's already tacky. As soon as you press your first press, it is in place. It is in there. Okay. So, other thing, now I don't even have to really find my center point and all of that good stuff, because technically this almost has a built-in center point. So I'm just going to find my placement first that makes me happy. I'm kind of going with the folds on the shirt. Y'all watch my real video for how to do this. This part is just me trying to show and get this done. But I have a much more detailed and proper way of doing this in my my all over video. Alright, so yes, I definitely don't need those side pieces. And I'm gonna have to come around. Or can I roll it down? Let's see. Being quite lazy. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, make sure I have the same amount of space on each side. Two. Good. I'm gonna take the dispenser, set it here where I roll up this top. Oh, you see all those wrinkles? Yeah, I should have pre-pressed this shirt. So y'all make sure you watch that video. So I did this the proper way. Okay. And my center's there. Before I roll that forward. Yeah, I definitely should do a little bit of iron into that. I see right now that's going to be an issue. Around my sleeves right there, it's going to be an issue. And when I do this right, like I'm telling you the full process that you are watching the real video, and I put the insert inside of the paper, inside of the shirt, pre-press it, all that good stuff, you're going to get best results. But who needs best when you can be good enough? Let's see if we can get good enough off this. Yeah, not supposed to be spraying indoors. You're supposed to have some kind of shield or something. Typically, I have some excess little pieces of paper, something that I can hold up to shield the overspray. Because the problem is the overspray gets on things, and then other things that you don't want to become tacky. So. I'm lightly mixing it. I do not want clumps of this stuff on anything because it will leave a void in that area. So all you'll see is a white spot somewhere. And chances are it'll be right on somebody's face. That's the fun part. You may not be able to predict much, but you can predict that the worst will happen when you don't follow the typical steps. I forgot to make sure that I had enough. I should usually do this from the top because it's more important to do the line up from the top than the bottom. So then that way you make sure your sleeves are matched up, your collar is good, has good placement. Text has good placement as far as not being too close to the collar. And I spray the print and not the shirt. You can feel the shirt underneath too. You can feel the edges and seams. So you can kind of get an idea whether your print is covering it or not. And you know, I forgot to test the pressure with the board because the pressure with the board is totally different than when you're not using the board at all. And one thing I was supposed to do is I was packing this. I just moved the paper. So you're going to be moving the paper and not the shirt or the board itself. So, that out of the way. And let's get our board ready and we'll shift the camera so you can see what's going on. We are in the same location, just a little bit different angle, and I'm going to show you how we're going to basically maneuver this within the heat press area. So I'm going to make sure you can see everything that's going on. Let me move this chair out of the way. everything's on wheels now. Like I said, it makes it a little bit easier. And typically I do not have the heat press anywhere near the printers. These printers don't like heat, right? And just get a little bit. Sorry, I'm kind of adjusting while I'm on here. I want to make sure you can see everything that's going on under the heat press and on the table at the same time. So hopefully that does it. Okay, so I have two boards on this table. One is just pretty much giving these continuous table surface because these are two different tables. And the other is going to be the board that we actually press with. So let's see how we're doing on pressure here because I did not test it. So what I'll do, I'm going to use just the board by itself because I don't want to take a chance and start pressing and it's not ready. So hopefully you would have done this already. Check your pressure, make sure it's adequate for your board. I just happen to have a light right here in the dining area. Alright, so I want to make sure my board is in the center of my press. And I've even thought about making some little PVC legs or something that just come up from the ground just to kind of keep this even because you don't really move the board around, you move the paper around. So let me make sure everything's out of the way. Push back, push back. Keep out of the ways. Okay. Alright, let's make sure y'all can see what's going on. And that's plenty of pressure, but we don't need plenty of pressure, we just need good pressure. Now I think that should give us good pressure, given that we're going to put a shirt underneath here. And you see the moisture is coming out of this board. I'm telling you, moisture is not your friend in sublimation. So now I'm going to shift my press. Top of the board. This is why I should have had this already done because I'm taking chances. Every time I shift this paper, taking chances that something's moving inside of there. Okay. Now, what I will do is pretty much look at each page as its own section. But I will tell you that when doing an extra large shirt, I can get away with doing 4 presses. 1, 2, the long way, and 3, 4, the standard way. So what I do have to do is trim off this extra meat so I can shift it that way. So I can show you how to do extra large in 4 presses instead of 8 presses. Because with this particular template, you have a lot of playroom. Let's get off some of that excess there so I can get under those sleeves. And get that sleeve right up underneath that heat press. And then what I want to make sure of, without bending up everything, is that my sleeve, I can feel it. And it's going to get covered by the press. So I'm going to hover over right now. Make sure everything's covered. Excuse me. Alright. Make sure I don't have any part of the shirt hanging out here. Shirts there. I'm going to do the heat press and let's do it. I forgot to set my timer for 50 seconds, but those timers don't have batteries in them. That's what it is. And my phone is being used to record right now. We go get another timer real quick. I need to be able to use my computer. My other phone is dead. And I put those timers on top of here so I remember to put batteries in them. Oh well. So we'll just figure out whatever time works. Let's do, I think there's a timer on every computer. Yep. Timer. I'm gonna do 1 minute, 0 hours. I'll do 50 seconds. Usually do 60 seconds for everything. Okay, so 55. All right, so that should have been at least 60 seconds for me to troubleshoot what I was supposed to be doing. And since I'm just shifting the paper, I don't even have to swing this away. But I'm going to use the yellowing of the paper to determine if I hit my spot. And did I cover that? Yep, got that seam in there. You see how the board is bending? It is creating pressure underneath the board. So I may swing it away just for the sake of being able to get under there like I want to. That's the top of my shirt there. Oh, I forgot to trim this side. Duh. The whole point of me showing you how you can do it in 4 presses is I have to be right where the sleeve is. And of course, I'm giving plenty of space. I'm not cutting anywhere near that sleeve. My sleeve is right there. Shift it underneath the press. Now, if this is that tacky paper, wherever this pressed, it would be down in one spot. You wouldn't see any shifting of lines, of the image, any of that. Now, we have to have a little bit of overlap. So make sure where your press is going to touch that you're going to at least slightly overlap the previous area that you pressed. And I don't mean by at least, but only slightly. Alright, so let's do the countdown. So we should be able to do 1, 2, 3, and 4 and see what it looks like. Meanwhile, go ahead and start cleaning up scraps. Getting rid of junk in your space. You know, you always find something to do in the 50 seconds or the 60 seconds. Like, I don't know why. I'll walk out the room and do something totally different and then wonder why I be burning up shirts and stuff. I try to do too much. I try to work on art and everything while I'm pressing. I don't like the wait time, but I do like the results. It's giving me, what, 10 more seconds now? From, I think it started on 52. And I don't think we needed, we may keep the scissors and trim the bottom just in case. Alright, so I guess that was the alarm. Not very alarming. Alright, and let's shift our paper. See, I'm not moving the board at all. I'm just shifting the paper. Okay, we got a decent overlap there. And like I said, I will trim this bottom off a little bit. Okay, you're not loud, but you're definitely annoying. Calm down, sir. Alright. I'm going to trim off the bottom, make sure I am definitely bypassing the edge of the shirt. I'm just trimming off some of this so that I can get closer to the shirt when I do the next press. why I said we can get the center 4 presses is because where the shirt is, I told you we didn't need these side panels, but we absolutely do need to get right at that seam and still have a little bit of overlap, which is definitely doable. All right, so if it's doable, let's do it. And press play on our 55 seconds. And I want to do a little peeking, just a little peeking, see how it looks. Okay, I might be happy with this, we'll see. I'm not nearly as elated with these results as I am with the full sheets, because there's always something when you're tiling, always. But the more you do it, the more you have confidence. And then of course, the more you have confidence in something, the better you'll do it. All right, so one more press after this, and I won't have to find some randomness to do. The piecing together of the long pieces is pretty much the same thing, same process. And I guess I could start laying it out. But you don't get to kind of see in real time how long this takes. Alright, see how I heard that? Alright, I'm gonna just do the action first. Alright, let's shift the paper. Make sure I have a good overlap. And there we go. Go ahead and lock it down. And restart this timer. Because the previous one just keeps going off. Alright, so while it's doing that, we can go ahead. This should be much easier to tile. Much easier to tile. And although my board is in the way right now, I can still get an idea of where my pieces go. Like I said, what is it? For these long pieces, if you're doing a medium, up to an adult medium, you only need 3 pieces of 13 by 36. If you're doing larger than that, I would suggest doing your 4 pieces. Or doing your 2 middle pieces and then just do 2 13 by 19 for your sleeves. And I'm telling ya, that is it. Alright, so I hear the timer going off. Of course, I want to play with the timer while the timer's going off. Oh, I don't know why I'm touching the screen of my computer, because it is not a touch screen. Alright, so moment of truth. Let's pull this baby out. And am I going to leave it on here? Yes, I will. I'm going to use the existing prints kind of as my backing sheet for the next print. Of course, it's sealed in there with a heat tape. So we won't see what it looks like until I put the other piece on. You see where I touch the shirt with ink on my fingers and stuff? And you can use this sheet over again if you were printing multiple shirts, as long as they are the same size. You can use it on top of something else. I wouldn't use it right on the white shirt. But some people like to put your paper between the print itself and the heat press. I don't. What I do is I just put paper afterwards to absorb any excess ink. I don't really do that. But this is helpful. Keep that, and then you can use that to make a jig or something for your extra wash shirt. All the way. And here I can kind of see where I would probably have had some issues with the veining on the sleeves. I'm gonna be okay with that, especially since I have clouds and stuff. And people understand with sublimation that it's not a perfect process. Now I do want to use my my adhesive. I don't want to do that under the heat press though. So what I'm going to do, pause. I'm going to go ahead and tape this up pretty much the same way we taped up 13 by 19. And then I'll show you the results of this. This is the exact same process for doing the front. What I'll do is I'll end up pulling this off. Once I get this assembled, pull this off, the whole board, and then I'll set the top piece on top, spray it. Maybe I'll just show you. But let me take a break just to go ahead and get things adjusted, and then I'll be back. Alright, so I'm deciding to show you in real time tiling this one because maybe it will be beneficial to see it tiled one way versus the other in real time, because you get to see how this method may save you some time. Alright, we need heat tape down to S-time. Here we go. So we'll definitely need our heat tape. And then we're working with 4 large pieces. So I'm just going to start here with my overlap. So I'll take a piece of tape that I'll use as placement tape, and I'm going to put under one edge there, so just so I have something to match up with. And I'm not touching anything yet. I just know that it's in place, so I kind of have an idea that it will be there when I need it. And with that, like I said, I don't expect these little side pieces to be exact, so I think that is great enough. Now I will have to reinforce in the white areas. Would be the easiest, of course. And then if you want to tack some underneath, the same method we did before, where we tack it to the bottommost layer, tack the tape to the bottommost layer. I didn't let the top piece rest down on it yet, but when I do let it rest down, I'm gonna make sure I enable it to lay flat. Alright, so that's 1 and 2. 3's coming up. Actually, technically it's 3 and 4, so 1 and 2 is there. Go ahead. Now this is going to be important because you have text and you have face there. And I don't have quite enough overlap. I trimmed a little too much. Either that or I didn't print enough overlap. So either way, it's my fault. And this is something you will learn as you go. You have to be careful picking up these edges too, because when you trim on the print, you're likely to scratch the surface where that sublimation ink is sitting. You have to be extremely careful of that because it might detract from your overall image if you see little chips and cracks in it. I'm gonna call that done. Probably because my back is hurting. It's definitely not exact. And I'll take a little piece underneath here and lift that up. And then a bigger piece somewhere towards, tack it first, and then I'm going to just let it lay, and then press the top one on top. So that's 3 out of 4. Last one. And I'm reaching all over the table so I can bring the print to me, so I'm not reaching so far. Alright. See how quicker how much quicker this is. The roll here also could be a little bit more precise too. So don't take this as the absolute time that this would take. Really, I'm hot and my back is hurting from leaning over this table. Alright. too. And of course, I am going to add a little more tape to the back of this. So, let's tack a piece first. And I will be tacking this side. There we go. Tap it. Tap it, then tap it. Alright, so I have my 4 pieces vaguely in place. And because I don't have tape in the middle, which is very hard to do when you have these big old pieces, you have to be very careful flipping this over. Probably more careful than I'm being right now. Alright, here we go. And then wherever pieces may have folded under where it wasn't supposed to be under, just check for that and get on your tape job. Use the tape as a weight and throw you a few pieces of tape there. You won't need nearly as much tape doing this method as you did with the 13 by 19. That is for sure. Hopefully this will be the last time I ever have to record this kind of video. Because, I don't know guys, this prep work is something else. I'm not going to say it's for the birds, because at one point in time this is all I could do. But if you have an opportunity to order prints, and I'm not just saying that because I sell them. I'm telling you that because it saves time. Or if you ever are in an opportunity to get a large format printer, if you do that many of these, definitely will make it worth your while. All right, a few more pieces of tape, and I can wipe my sweat. And we can get to pressing this on the other side of our shirt. So those of you who are doing all of this tiling and charging like $30 for these, bless your heart, I think you should definitely be charging more. This is a lot of manual setup time for one shirt. Yeah, if you have a big old press where you're and a big old printer where you're getting this done, one and done, hey, I'm with you. But otherwise, please, please, please. Pay yourself accordingly. Now all I'm doing right now is I'm gonna roll this up, put it on top of this board, and bring this board back onto this area. Because I want to spray it, and I don't want to spray it inside of my heat press. Alright, I'm going to line up. Now remember I trimmed this one, so everything may not line up exactly. That's fine. But I want to make sure that I'm getting my bleed in the same areas. And spray. And see how this board warps? Once it gets under the heat press one time, it's warping. So just keep that in mind. That's just what it's going to do. So what I'm doing right now, hopefully you all can see, I just want to line up my collar here so that I can pretty much be assured that it's going to have the same little piece of that board came off. Yeah, that should be about right. So once I have that in place, and let me check the bottom just to make sure that I'm still, because sometimes the extreme points will shift and pivot. I think we're good on that. So let's take the tape, put it in the middle, turn over, and I'm going to spray lightly, just mist. And you'll know know if you're doing it wrong. You'll see those big old wads of spit. Alright, good on that side. I'm gonna roll it over. I think this came from the paper when the paper was touching the board, and some of these little particles came off the board. I got y'all a fresh cut board just for y'all, just to show you how it does work. All right. All right, we're in there, and we'll flip the tape to the other side. Roll our prints either way, and spray it. And now I'm actually spraying it as I'm rolling it down, so I don't have too much overspray on my stuff, especially in the kitchen. Alright, we're working from the center coming down, so we don't have any little bubbles or anything in there. You can do this without spray, but just more opportunity for your image to shift and your shirt to shift inside. So now we have that on. I'm going to go ahead and trim the excess so that I know where my sleeves are. I'm just going to follow my previous tape. Trim the sides for the sleeves, and then we'll trim the bottom. You see I'm kind of sticking to my board there. Try to make it to the end. All right. Oh yeah, we have to trim the bottom. Presses. Put this back towards the center of the board. I know what I'm working with. Go ahead and open up my press. And like I said, when we do, I'll make sure it's centered, of course. Where I'm doing the sleeve, the sleeves are now at the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and do my sleeves first. Make sure that I have clearance under my press. Press is in position. And I'm lifting the board up a little bit on the edges because it's tending to drop. And just making sure that I am pressing the top as well as my uppermost top. I can feel it where the collar is at the very top. And then I'm going to make sure I bypass or I pass that center line there. All right. And 55 seconds. Go. So let's see what I can do in 55 seconds. Maybe in the shots. Start talking to y'all about something and forget that I'm pressing. And y'all be sure to also let me know if there's any parts of this process that I might need to clarify. I'm sure I'll do a different version of this video in the future, just once we get all those questions together. That way we have a really concise tutorial for you. And I think I'm gonna I save these. Like when it has a little bit of that print on there, you never know if you need to print a license plate or something. That works. I use these, even though they were banded, I used them to catch overspray. Oh yeah, my timer. dismiss. And let's shoot. We don't move the board, just the paper underneath. You can see where it's yellowed and received some adequate heat. I'm gonna wash my hands for these 55 seconds. Well, I just did hand sanitizer because I didn't want to burn the shirt up. Alright, so 20 more seconds. Put that up. I don't know if it's just me. I'm sure it's not just me, but when I press polyester shirts, a lot of times the fumes that it gives off it kind of bothers me, like it's doing right now. And also, you know, you have the adhesive in here and stuff, so you know, I'm doing this right now in the kitchen. I didn't turn on the fume hood just because probably would create more noise than we would like, but definitely make sure you're working in a ventilated area. I don't care what anybody says about sublimation. These fumes are not all the way harmless. All right. There we go. 2 more presses and we're done. Okay, so now I can really take a sneak peek. Yay. 2 more presses, we're done with that. Make sure that you go online. Let me know if you all want me to offer a roll media, because I actually purchased it. I'll let you know where I purchased it from. But offer the 13 by 19 sheets. But I would also like to start offering the roll media if it's something that you all will be using. I don't even use it that much anymore, but I would definitely carry it if you all want that. Don't forget the Sublimation ink, of course. I don't use any color profiles. I'll show you how to set it up one time for your computer and your printer settings, and you never ever ever have to change it again. Every time you print from Photoshop, it'll be the same thing. So definitely hit me up for ink. And then of course templates, guys. This is one of our templates here, the butterfly remembrance shirt, and this is really special to me. It was inspired because one of my best friends passed away. She was very much for butterflies, purples, teals, those sort of things. So I tried to do something that kind of embodied her spirit and energy. You know what? I forgot to press the timer. I'm pretty sure that was about 55 seconds. And I can check the yellowing and tell. Yeah, it was enough seconds, sure. 1 more press. And this time, I'm going to try not to forget to hit the timer, hit the button. There we go. Whew. I see a big old hole right there already. And this is, you won't see it right now until I pull it up on camera. Those imperfections in that sleeve, I definitely feel like that could have been, now you can't avoid them altogether, but you can definitely mitigate it as much as possible by using the insert sheet. So putting the sheet inside of the shirt. And then what I do is I spray tack those little tough areas. Watch that video where I do it properly. And I feel like I'm just talking like with my hands right now. Like, yeah. Anyhow. But yeah, I use a little bit of spray tack for those really, really stubborn areas. I will actually spray tack the shirt to the inside butcher paper, and it'll pull some of those wrinkles out. All right, that is it. That is it. Let's see what we're working with. Pull the board off to the side. Let it cool flat. me show y'all my tiles. Oh my goodness, I left the crease there. That's my fault. I didn't tape it up as much as I should have in the back. Okay, so let me see if I can show you. This is the final results of the 13x19 presses, and you can see where the paper overlap. You do have some slight inconsistencies in color. Maybe you can't see. I'm just gonna as you can see. As you can't see. There we go. So where the paper overlaps, you have some differences in pressure and color there, especially along the face area there. You do, of course, with sublimation, you're gonna have these areas that wrinkle up, and you'll be missing color there. Same thing happens along the sleeve area. Not so bad here. Now where I messed up, and you can even see in the print here, for my all over, I didn't put as much tape as I should have right here in the center to keep it from shifting. So what happened was, the image shifted. You see that line there? But other than that, this would be in the middle where it shifts. But you don't see the line elsewhere. So overall, I definitely wouldn't sell that. I would have to redo this one. That's where you see where things are going with these towels. It's not my best friend. However, dang, I wish my tutorial could have been perfect, but it's good to show y'all a little imperfection in the process. So 13x19 was harder to line up, but easier to control the tape. And I could have controlled the tape more, I'm not gonna lie, I could have. But when you have these big long pieces, it's kind of hard to tack the tape underneath. So, but I don't like the 4 square kind of, when you see this on a person's body, you don't really see it so much. I can kind of mimic that one-to-one, but flat, I can definitely see the marks from the tape and the paper. But that's the process, guys. Regardless of this little split in the paper, I'm going to wear these creation. So let me see if I can put the camera up so y'all can see a little bit better. Yeah, y'all see my little kitchen setup. Part of the reason why it took me so long to do this, but there we go. Front and back. 2 different methods to do it all over with the 13x19 and the 13x36, or with the roll media method. And both ways have their issues, but we achieved pretty much a professional all over result. Not in the level of time, so watch the video where I show you how you're really supposed to press these big sheets. I'll link to it in the description, but see how fast that process goes versus this process, and then let me know if you need the full printed sheets, okay? So, and also if you have large format printers and you want to be a part of the Innate Lab affiliate group, let me know, and I can refer people to you in your local area for printing based on what our needs are for large format printing. Alright guys, that's it. I appreciate you, love you. Thank you for sticking around with me through this process, and as always, stay safe and healthy in these corona times, and pretty soon we'll be able to watch this video and we won't be talking about corona. So let's pray for that day, and until then, love y'all. Bye.